Putting a balled and burlapped tree into your landscape offers more variety and great selection when it comes to trees. While it does involve some work, it might be easier than you think. Join me today as I show you how I planted a balled and burlapped tree. Hi, I'm Gardener Scott, and the size, the height, and the age of the tree will determine just exactly how a nursery will prepare it for you to put in your landscape. I planted these trees along this fence as bare root trees. They're younger trees. The diameter of the trunk is less than an inch, and they arrived as bare roots that I then put into the soil while they were dormant in early spring. I got this tree as a container-grown tree. It's also young. The diameter of the trunk isn't very thick, but the roots were growing in soil inside this container. When I planted it, I planted the entire root ball with the soil from this pot. This tree is obviously older, taller, and wider. When nurseries grow trees, they'll typically grow a long row of trees. And when they're ready to sell, they have a special machine that will dig out the root ball. And then they'll wrap it in burlap and encase that burlap in a wire cage. That's how this tree was sold, as a balled and burlapped tree. When you add a tree to your landscape, whether it be bare root or container or balled and burlapped, you should take the time to figure out the optimum spot. The first step we took was to call our local utilities company and find out if there were any buried lines in the area that we were considering. And sure enough, there's a flag there, there's a flag here, and where we thought we were going to put a tree was another flag indicating a buried line. So we had to shift it to avoid the utilities. We wanted full sun. That's a good idea for most trees, and we anticipated the growth of the tree so that it wouldn't interfere with the fence or the deck when it started reaching maturity. With all of those factors in mind, we had our spot determined. And this was the spot we chose. I began by simply putting a metal stake in the ground to mark where the tree was going to rest. And then I measured the root ball of the balled and burlapped tree. I wanted to know just exactly how wide the ball was, and I wanted to know how deep it was. Now, the hole that you want to dig for a tree like this should be 2 to 3 times the diameter of the root ball that is wrapped in burlap. Now, our burlap ball was about 2 feet wide. So I wanted to make sure that the hole that we were ultimately digging was at least 4 feet wide. So I got a piece of twine. I measured it out using the ball as a guide and decided on having about a 4.5 feet wide hole. You don't need many tools for a job like this. You'll need a spade for digging the hole, bolt cutters for cutting back the wire cage, and knife or scissors to cut the twine and the burlap. But if you want a hole that is symmetrical, I suggest you use an edger. And that's what I did with that twine that I had measured. Using the edger, I looped the twine around that metal post that I had in the ground, and that was able to give me a perfect circle as I pushed the edger into the ground and worked my way around. With the edge identified, then we simply took out the grass and then got our spades and began digging the hole. Now the hole should be saucer shaped. So it's shallower on the edge and deeper at the middle. You don't want to dig any deeper than the depth of the root ball that you're placing into this hole. And in fact, you should try to dig the hole so that when you put the root ball in, it's going to rest about 2 inches above the level of the soil around it. Periodically, while you're digging the hole, go ahead and take the time to measure the depth so you know exactly how deep the hole is. With the hole dug, it's time to put the tree in the hole. Now, that root ball is heavy, and while ideally you would lift it up and set it in, if you slowly roll it, you can get it into the hole. Try to avoid grabbing onto the trunk. You can actually separate the trunk and the roots from the soil inside it. So grab onto that wire basket and to the burlap as you twist and turn and direct the tree. Once you get it into the hole, there are a couple different philosophies as to how you're going to finish the planting. The first is, it's in the hole, now you just fill the hole with the native soil that you dug out, and you're done. The idea being that roots will grow through the burlap as the burlap breaks down, and that while that steel is going to stay in the ground for a few decades, the roots will ultimately grow around it. That's a method that is actually usually encouraged by the nursery, because when they dig up this tree, it's going to lose about 90% of the roots that were growing in the ground. So to keep that ball intact and to keep those new roots that are starting to grow from being damaged, you keep everything together. You fill in the hole and the planting is done. But that's not the way I prefer. I like the other philosophy. The other method is to remove some or all of the burlap and the steel cage. Now, there's limited research. There have been some studies that show it really doesn't matter that much. If you keep everything together and bury it, in the short term, it's about the same as if you remove the ball and burlap. There is some information to indicate that 7 years and beyond, the trees that have the burlap and the steel cage removed could have better root development and better anchoring in the ground. Now, in my area of Colorado, buried burlap is not going to break down very quickly. And so the idea that the roots are going to grow through it is lessened in a dry area like mine. It's more likely that the roots are going to hit the burlap and end up girdling the rest of the roots, essentially staying inside that balled area. So I definitely want to remove the burlap. The steel cage, I think, is also an impediment to some future root growth, particularly as the roots get bigger. So it needs to be removed as well. There are a couple different ways of doing it. One that is highly recommended is to put the ball into the hole and then cut away the top 1/3 to 1/2 of the burlap and the steel cage, and then fill the hole in with the native soil. The approach I took was to remove the base of the steel cage using the bolt cutters before we rolled it into the hole. With the ball in the hole, I then cut away both the burlap and the steel cage. Now, it is a little bit of a challenge to get in there and to cut away the burlap and to get the bolt cutters in and cut it. But it wasn't that difficult. It just took a little bit of time. And as I was cutting it away, my partner was filling it in with soil. The idea is that we want to keep the soil around the roots as much as possible, as though we had just buried the whole thing. By filling it in as you remove the burlap and as you remove the steel cage, you're more likely to keep that soil from escaping. Whether you bury the whole ball or whether you cut away the burlap and the steel cage as you're burying the roots, it's critical that you remove the twine and the rope that is wrapped around the trunk and holds all that burlap together. If you don't remove that, it can strangle the trunk of the tree at some point and kill it. The burlap in most cases is going to degrade unless it's a synthetic burlap, but the twine is almost always synthetic, so it's not going to break down. You have to take it off. Now, remember that I suggested that you do the depth of the hole a couple inches higher than the depth of the root ball. The reason for that is because during that process of wrapping the burlap, the nursery will usually have a couple extra inches of soil at the top. You're going to want to remove that soil. You're looking for the root flare, where the trunk hits the roots and the roots begin to spread out. You want that root flare to be at or slightly below the level of the ground around it. And then once that's in place, you can begin watering in the tree. And you want to water it very well. You want to soak the ground all the way through that root ball and the surrounding soil. And you're going to want to water on a regular basis to keep the soil moist. That may mean every day for the first week that the tree is in the ground. Once those feeder roots start developing, you can move to once or twice a week depending on your climate. Generally, you're looking for about 15 to 20 gallons of water for a good-sized tree every week. You can build a berm around where the roots are to help hold that water in so it drains straight down. Or like we did, you can go ahead and put bricks around to do the same thing, help hold the water in. And along with mulch, the soil is going to stay moist longer. It's not going to evaporate into the air. A question that often comes up is how much you should firm the soil after planting. And there are different thoughts about this. Some arborists will get down and stomp on the soil as they're filling the hole to make sure there's no air pockets. Others will say, don't disturb the soil at all. Leave it loose so that the roots can start growing through as quickly as possible. I will push with my boot slightly, just to detect if there's any areas that we didn't fill completely. Not to compact the soil, but just to determine if we need to put more soil. I also think it should be relatively loose soil so that those roots can grow. Now, the last thing you might be thinking about is whether or not to stake the tree. Normally I don't stake trees, but with a tree that has substantial leaf development already and a very small root, I think it is something to be considered. I live in a very windy area. In fact, the day after we planted this tree, we had sustained winds over 30 miles per hour and gusts up to 50 miles per hour. To avoid this tree blowing over in very windy conditions, I applied these stakes. If you don't have those kind of conditions, you can probably get by without a stake, especially if you've just buried the whole root ball, burlap, and metal. It's going to tend to stay pretty stable. I don't want this tree to be so rigid, to be supported so much that it can't move. The movement of the tree will actually make the trunk stronger. I used some old garden hose to help hold it in place. These are just to prevent the tree from blowing over, not to hold it perfectly still. Feel free to add flowers and other plants underneath the tree. Now, the mulch is only a couple inches thick, and we made a point not to put it up around the trunk. You don't want a volcano of mulch causing the trunk to rot. Just a light layer separated away from the trunk, And it's ideal for annuals and even some perennials. And it'll help remind you that you need to water this on a regular basis. The whole process that we took putting this in the ground was actually less than an hour. And I'm very satisfied with the results and look forward to wonderful growth and future shade in this spot. I'm Gardener Scott. Enjoy gardening.